I have a slight problem. Yes, the Last Day on Earth problems are back. And welcome to another episode of, I guess, just more commentary, straight up just commentary from ZD. Yes, that's right, it's just another episode of where I just sit down, turn on the microphone, talk about some random topic for a certain amount of time, and you get to hear some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and yeah, let's get to that. As I said, as always, subscribe, join my Discord, follow my Twitter, you know the drill. Let's get into this actual stuff. What is this problem? I don't know if you've noticed, but a number of Last Day on Earth YouTube channels have been leaving the ldoe scene, or at least taking a few steps back to sort of distance themselves from the Last Day on Earth YouTube scene. And as someone who really closely monitors the ldoe YouTube scene, knows the ldoe YouTube scene like the back of their hand, this is definitely a red flag. One is just a one-off thing. Two people, okay, that's a little weird, but so many people now are just gradually pushing away from ldoe YouTube, and that got me thinking, why? Why are people just pushing away from ldoe YouTube? ldoe YouTube, I mean, I will definitely be the first one to admit, has its fair share of problems. But why are so many people going away from ldoe YouTube? Shouldn't more people be rushing to join in on ldoe YouTube? Shouldn't there be more content creation? I mean, I know that the updates have been a little bit slow, but usually you would expect to see a lot more videos than just whatever from the last Bikers Camp. And I know we're looking at it from the Bikers Camp. This was an event that was already unpopular, I could already tell going into the update. It was temporary, it was literally there to fill time, but already you're seeing so many ldoe content creators slowly distance themselves from the game. Obviously, they're still around, they still have the option to go back to the game, but little by little, they're sort of moving and extending some sort of life supports to some sort of other different types of games, which, honestly, when I think about it, and I'll get to this a little bit more in a second, I should probably copy and do the same. But why? We need to answer the why first. Why are so many content creators moving away from Last Day on Earth YouTube? And I think the answer is very simple. I think it's a combination of both the Android iOS update style fiasco, which is essentially where the updates largely come delayed, and the other thing is, well, a shortage of updates, but just the climate on ldoe YouTube. I feel like over time this has become more apparent, or maybe this is just me becoming more aware of ldoe YouTube, and maybe this is just how it's always been, and I've just been ignorant the entire time. But ldoe YouTube has stopped becoming a fun run. I remember, as JCF said in his other video, when ldoe update 1.6 came out, you would just rush to make that video, and you would just make that video for the sake of making that video. There was no rush to beat anyone, there was no rush to be the first one there, there was no rush to, just do anything. It was just solely for the sake of you wanted to show this really cool new thing off. But now, when you look at modern ldoe YouTube, it's no longer the case. The case is everyone just wants to be the first because the first one is the only person who even stand a chance in the Last Day on Earth YouTube algorithm. Everyone else gets absolutely buried in the algorithm, and you stand no chance. This has happened, I've watched it happen season 9, 10, 11, and so on. Obviously, I can go in a lot more, season 9, definitely myself, season 10, well, I think it's pretty obvious which channel did really good, especially 11 and 12, and 13 especially, very, very apparent which channel did extremely successful and which ones got buried in the algorithm. Now, will Last Day on Earth obviously recover? I think it will definitely rebound, probably not after this next update. Maybe after a couple of really good consecutive updates, I think that ldoe YouTube will start to pick itself back up again, but will it ever restore itself to that post-very early ldoe years? Honestly, I don't know, and I am launching a very secret project soon, and honestly, I think you're going to really like it. Definitely something that is really worth exploring. So I think, will there ever be another ldoe channel again that explodes to this kind of level? Will there ever be any of that? I think that's going to all do for its own sort of special video. Honestly, I talk really quick in these videos, but there's so much to say about ldoe YouTube. I could ramble on and on and on about Last Day on Earth YouTube for so long, but I'm going to try and keep this video focused. So let's bring this full circle. I have a problem. How do we sort of fix that problem? Well, I think first and foremost, when I originally started ldoe YouTube, I started it as sort of, well, you remember the text stuff, and I think because I joined that direction, I sort of made the channel into Last Day on Earth's channel and not my own. And when you look at these lull periods between updates, this channel's success is immediately tethered to ldoe's success. You look at someone like Happy Sarek, his channel will survive. If ldoe decided to shut down their servers tomorrow, he will survive, I won't. And I think that's immediately the mistake that has been made very apparent, and it's sort of something I've known for quite a while, but also something I've sort of dodged around for a little bit, because it's not something that's really easy to address. It's not something you can just immediately fix, but it is something I should be concerned over, because, yeah, you look at right now, and this next 7 days, the bikers camp is still a thing. Obviously, ldoe is not just going to immediately drop an update, while the bikers camp is still a thing. So immediately, I know that there's not going to be any content for that little period. And then afterward, honestly, I don't see this wave riding into the next updates. Even if they did something like the helicopter suddenly dropping, I do not see hordes and hordes of people rushing back for this sort of next season. It's a single-player season, probably. It's right around the ldoe anniversary. So if I had to guess, that's sort of what I would speculate it would be. But honestly, I don't see the amount of hype that there usually is for something this momentous or something this big. Obviously, I want Last Day on Earth YouTube to succeed because right now I am currently tethered to it. I want that to succeed because that's where I succeed too. But ultimately, I think over these next few days, I want to try a couple of different things. And I need you all, especially those of you on my Discord, those of you on my Twitter especially, but I guess technically even the YouTube audience as well, I need you to remind me, especially once I eventually stray back to the same old ldoe patterns, that this is not a survivable route. This route is ldoe's path. This is not my path. Obviously, there can be some intersection, but ultimately, ldoe's path should not directly be correlated to mine. I should be able to stand on my own when ldoe falls, and ldoe should be able to stand on its own when my channel eventually falls. They should not be directly tethered one against the other, I think, right? At least, that's what I would hope. Anywho, I hope you enjoy this weird ramble. Honestly, I could just sit here and talk about ldoe YouTube all the time for so long, hours on end. But, as always, I will do my best to keep this as short as possible. Remind me though, don't let me fall in the same pattern. I will try some new forms of content. You gotta yell at me on Twitter, Discord, something like that. Honestly, that's the only way stuff is gonna change. Alright, subscribe, ZD out.